All right. Well, leaving aside we don't have the money to invest, the other issue is did all of this investing or spending, whatever you want to call it, lead us down this inflationary path? Back with Kenny Polcari. We got Jonas Max Ferris, Danielle DiMartino Booth. Jonas, what do you think?
Joe Manchin's done more to fight inflation than Paul Volcker at this point, is what I think. To be honest, it's a little confusing, but just in general, the less deficit spending that's going to happen, the better that's going to be for inflation at this point. And Manchin's veto power essentially is probably going to keep the deficit under $1 trillion this year, which is a good thing. Now, getting to the specifics, anytime the government's spending money now, if it puts more money in someone's pocket, it's inflationary because we already have essentially a demand and supply imbalance. And that can be anything. I know only the healthcare part of this is left, but if you're going to extend these extra Obamacare subsidies, if you're going to even do the drug plan, which everyone wants to do, that's going to make drugs less costly to seniors or anybody, they're going to expand that. That's putting more money in their pocket to buy other stuff. This is why when they send checks to elderly people, that was inflationary. You can't, in fact, the lowest component of inflation right now is medical costs. That's not where the problem is right now. It's actually in a lot of other stuff that people are buying with the money they save somewhere else. So you have to be very careful in any government deficit spending at this point in the inflation curve.
Yeah, I always use that Reagan line, Kenny Polcari, you know, we're from the government, we're here to help. And I don't disparage everyone in government, but rarely does it help the situation with inflation. So it's really up to the Federal Reserve. And you guys have been rightly critical of their timing and how they're doing. But Kenny, then what?
Well, listen, thank God Joe Manchin, because he is putting kind of the brakes on this whole thing, because I think the rest of the party is completely tone deaf. But from the reserve side, they can't control the supply issue, so they can only destroy demand to try to bring demand down, where then supply and demand will come into balance. It's going to take a while. Look, we way overextended. We went on way too long, stimulating, holding rates at zero, all that stuff. We did it for 13 years. It didn't just happen during COVID. It started in 2009 in the middle of the crisis. So if you think about it, they've held interest rates at zero and stimulating for 13 years. If anyone thinks that we're going to get out of this in 2 or 3 months, I think they're sadly mistaken. They should go back and rethink that. We're running at an official rate of 9.1%. In my mind, I think we're already over 10 or 11% in inflation if you really kind of look at everything else around. And the CPI was a perfect example. Once you took out food and energy, the core was still even higher than it was last month, to that point that it's everything else that's increasing in value, that's increasing in cost. And seniors and people are making decisions on they're cutting stuff out that they need to buy stuff that they really need.
That's a good point. You know, Danielle, also it doesn't exactly make you feel good to know that, you know, the administration really is grasping at straws here. I can understand that desperation, but so is the Federal Reserve. Larry Summers critical of even what the Federal Reserve is doing now. He, of course, the former Treasury Secretary for Bill Clinton, critical of this administration, critical of the Federal Reserve, critical of their notions that this was going to be a transitory issue. We're beyond that, he says now, but even the forecast the Fed has and the administration indicating that things are going to get better on the energy front and inflation front in just a short time, and the Federal Reserve forecasting things will get back to order and under control early next year. He says it's ridiculous, not happening. What do you think?
You know, I'm going to have to agree. The fact is, what the Fed stimulated in large part, and I'm not talking about the food prices or the invasion of the Ukraine or energy prices. I'm talking about what the Fed encouraged, and that was the biggest speculative bubble in U.S. residential real estate and housing that we've ever seen. That particular element moves through the CPI very slowly. When you think about an apartment lease, it's 12 months, it's 18 months. These high prices are going to persist in the CPI for a very long time, and we're going to see if Jay Powell has the ability to channel his inner Paul Volcker and continue down this path, despite the fact that we're in recession. That's exactly what Paul Volcker did to get inflation under control.
Yeah, he went a little far. Paul Volcker, the gentleman who's referring, of course, was the Fed chairman appointed by Jimmy Carter, and then, of course, through the Reagan years. But, you know, Jonas, I can remember he would raise rates a full percentage point at a time. For a while, that's what folks were thinking the Federal Reserve was poised to do when it meets in less than 2 weeks. Do you see a full point coming yourself?
The odds of that have declined recently.
Right.
I think it's needed, but it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, when the White House doesn't do anything, then it makes the Fed have to do more. So we will ultimately get to a higher short-term interest rate than we would if there was money being pulled out by the White House. You know, some of these things they want to do, they could accomplish in a disinflationary way. You know, European countries have gas taxes are indexed to inflation. We don't do that. Biden could do something like that, pull money out of the consumer's pocket. That would lower prices across. I mean, yes, gas prices might go up, but other prices would go down. But it's not a populist move. You won't get reelected with that. So they're kicking the can to the Fed, which has been done through history. I'm not going to just blame Biden for that. And that's going to require higher rates than normal, which could pop the housing bubble, pop the stock market further. You don't want to go to a very high rate if you could balance the cost with the White House policy, but they don't want to do that.
No, they don't. But kudos to all of you guys, by the way, to a man and woman were saying when everyone was saying this was transitory that it was not. And I think some of you even got email critical of the fact that you were down. Yeah. You were Debbie Downers on the economy. You were also very, very accurate. My thanks to all of you. Have a great weekend.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson tonight.